Welcome to Iraqi Dinar News, where you receive real and authentic updates about the Iraqi dinar. If you want to stay informed with moment-by-moment developments, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Today we are going to analyze an important issue that has recently been discussed by economic observers and analysts following Iraq's financial system. The topic centers around a very large amount of Iraqi dinars reportedly being held in private homes rather than inside the banking system. According to discussions circulating among financial commentators, the total amount of physical cash stored outside banks may be extremely significant, possibly reaching tens of trillions of dinars. At the same time, concerns about withdrawal restrictions and limited trust in the banking system have contributed to the growth of what economists often describe as a cash economy. To understand why this issue matters, we first need to look at how a modern financial system normally functions. In most economies, the majority of money circulates through banks and electronic payment systems rather than remaining in physical form. When money stays inside banks, it can be used to support lending, investment, and economic expansion. Banks are able to provide credit to businesses, mortgages to families, and capital to support infrastructure development. However, when a large share of a country's currency is stored physically in homes or private safes, that money is effectively removed from the formal financial system. Economists sometimes describe this situation as currency outside banks. While holding cash is not unusual in many countries, extremely high levels of cash hoarding can limit the effectiveness of financial policy and reduce the ability of banks to stimulate economic growth. In Iraq's case, the discussion about large amounts of dinars held outside the banking system is not entirely new. For many years, analysts have pointed out that historical instability, political uncertainty, and public concerns about banking security have encouraged many citizens to rely heavily on physical cash. Even today, many everyday transactions in Iraq still occur using paper currency rather than electronic payments. The reference to withdrawal restrictions in recent discussions reflects another concern sometimes raised by observers. In some cases, limitations on withdrawals or difficulties accessing banking services can encourage individuals to hold on to cash once they have it. When people feel uncertain about how easily they can access their money from banks, they may choose to keep larger amounts at home rather than deposit those funds. This dynamic can gradually reinforce a cycle in which fewer people use the banking system. As fewer deposits enter banks, financial institutions may find it more difficult to expand lending or modernize payment systems. That, in turn, can slow down broader economic modernization. At the same time, it is important to understand that the Central Bank of Iraq has repeatedly stated that strengthening the banking sector and modernizing the financial system are long-term priorities. Over the past several years, Iraqi authorities have introduced various initiatives aimed at improving financial transparency, expanding electronic payment infrastructure, and encouraging citizens to engage more actively with banks. One of the key strategic goals often discussed by policymakers is reducing the country's reliance on cash transactions. A more digital and bank-based financial system can improve oversight, reduce corruption risks, and make it easier for businesses to operate efficiently. Another topic mentioned in the circulating commentary is the long-discussed project to delete the zeros. This phrase refers to a monetary reform concept that has been periodically discussed in Iraq for many years. The idea generally involves redenominating the currency by removing 3 zeros from banknotes. For example, a 25,000 dinar note could theoretically be replaced with a 25 dinar note under a new currency structure. It is very important to clarify that redenomination does not automatically increase the real value of a currency. Instead, it typically represents an accounting adjustment designed to simplify transactions and improve the appearance of the currency system after periods of inflation. Many countries have carried out similar redenomination projects in the past. Examples include Turkey, Brazil, and several Eastern European economies. In most cases, the primary goal was to simplify everyday transactions and restore public confidence in the national currency after inflation had produced very large banknote denominations. In Iraq's situation, large banknotes such as the 25,000 dinar and 50,000 dinar notes were introduced partly because the currency lost value during years of economic instability and sanctions in previous decades. These notes are now widely used in daily transactions. The concept of removing zeros has occasionally resurfaced in economic discussions because large denominations can create logistical challenges. For example, large volumes of cash may be required for relatively ordinary transactions, and accounting systems must handle large numerical figures. However, implementing a redenomination project is a complex process that requires careful economic preparation, political coordination, and strong public communication. Governments must ensure that the banking system, businesses, and citizens fully understand how the transition works. Without careful planning, redenomination can cause confusion in markets and pricing. For that reason, central banks usually implement such reforms only after achieving a high level of economic stability, controlled inflation, and strong institutional capacity. Another element mentioned in the discussion is the potential introduction of a digital dinar. Around the world, many central banks are currently researching or developing what are known as central bank digital currencies, often abbreviated as CBDCs. A digital currency issued by a central bank would function as an electronic form of national money. Unlike cryptocurrencies, which operate independently from government institutions, a central bank digital currency would be fully backed and regulated by the country's monetary authority. The goal of a digital currency is often to modernize payment systems and reduce reliance on physical cash. Digital payments can improve efficiency, increase transparency, and help integrate more citizens into the formal financial sector. In Iraq's case, discussions about financial modernization have included expanding digital payment infrastructure, encouraging mobile banking, and developing more secure electronic transaction platforms. While a fully implemented digital dinar has not yet been introduced, technological modernization remains an important policy topic. If Iraq were to move further toward digital financial systems in the future, it could potentially help address some of the challenges associated with a heavily cash-based economy. Digital transactions can be tracked more easily, which supports regulatory oversight and reduces opportunities for illicit financial activity. Returning to the question of large amounts of dinars being held in homes, it is important to view this issue through a broader economic lens. Cash hoarding often reflects a combination of historical experience, trust levels, financial literacy, and infrastructure availability. For example, in regions where banking services are limited or inconvenient to access, citizens may naturally rely more heavily on cash. In other cases, individuals may prefer physical currency because it provides a sense of direct control over their money. Improving public confidence in the banking sector is therefore a key component of reducing the size of the informal cash economy. When people trust that their deposits are secure and accessible, they are more likely to keep funds within financial institutions. In recent years, Iraq has taken steps to strengthen banking supervision, combat financial corruption, and align with international financial standards. These reforms are designed to integrate Iraq more fully into the global financial system and support economic development. Another factor to consider is the role of government policy in encouraging electronic payments. Many countries have successfully reduced cash usage by expanding digital payment networks, introducing point-of-sale systems, and promoting mobile financial services. In Iraq, the gradual adoption of electronic salary payments for government employees and expanded use of payment cards have already begun to change how money moves through the economy. From a short-term perspective, the presence of large amounts of currency outside the banking system can limit liquidity within financial institutions. This can slow the pace at which banks expand lending or invest in modernization. However, from a long-term perspective, addressing this issue involves building stronger financial infrastructure and public trust rather than relying on any single policy decision. For followers of the IRAQI dinar, it is important to interpret these discussions carefully. Commentary circulating online sometimes presents simplified solutions or claims that specific monetary actions would automatically produce dramatic currency changes. In reality, currency values are influenced by a wide range of economic factors including inflation, fiscal policy, trade balance, political stability, and central bank credibility. Exchange rates typically move gradually as economic conditions evolve rather than changing suddenly due to a single policy announcement. Sustainable currency strength usually reflects a country's overall economic productivity, institutional stability, and integration with global markets. Iraq's long-term economic outlook depends on several structural factors. These include diversification beyond oil revenues, development of private industry, improved infrastructure, and continued financial sector reform. Oil exports currently remain the dominant source of government revenue in Iraq. While these revenues provide significant national income, economic diversification is widely viewed as essential for long-term stability. A stronger banking system plays a central role in that diversification process. Businesses require access to financing in order to expand operations, hire employees, and invest in innovation. When financial institutions operate efficiently and transparently, they can support the growth of new industries. For that reason, many economic reform efforts in Iraq focus on modernizing the financial system, strengthening regulatory oversight, and increasing participation in formal banking services. It is also worth noting that public education about financial services can play a significant role in changing economic behavior. When citizens understand the benefits of bank accounts, digital payments, and secure financial products, they may gradually shift away from cash-based habits. International organizations have often emphasized financial inclusion as a key development goal. Expanding access to banking services allows more people to participate fully in economic activity and benefit from financial tools such as savings accounts, loans, and digital transfers. In Iraq, the process of building a more modern financial ecosystem will likely continue gradually over the coming years. Infrastructure development, regulatory reforms, and technological upgrades all take time to implement effectively. For Iraqi dinar observers and investors, the most responsible approach is to follow verified economic data and official announcements from credible institutions. The Central Bank of Iraq, government financial authorities, and international financial organizations provide the most reliable insights into policy developments. Speculation and rumors often circulate rapidly online, particularly when complex economic topics are simplified into dramatic predictions. However, responsible analysis requires separating confirmed policy actions from speculation. What we can say with confidence is that Iraq's financial system is undergoing a gradual transformation aimed at strengthening stability, improving transparency, and encouraging economic growth. Issues such as cash circulation, banking sector development, and digital financial technology will continue to play important roles in that transformation. For those following the Iraqi dinar closely, understanding the broader economic context is essential. Currency discussions should always be viewed as part of the larger picture of economic policy, institutional development, and long-term reform. Thank you for watching today's update. If you want to stay informed with responsible, factual, and balanced analysis about the Iraqi dinar and Iraq's economy, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. And as always, remember that this content is provided for informational and educational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice.